Alright, so I'm going to do a quick little review on factoring trinomials with an a value other than 1. Okay, so here is a trinomial. Here I have an a value that is 6. So I can't just use the normal multiply to get c and add to get b. So one of our options is the tic-tac-toe method. Okay. So the first thing we do is we put the a value in the first box, the c value in the second box, and then we multiply those two values to get ac and put that in the third box across the top. So a, c, then a times c. Okay, then we also know that our b value is 13. So these two boxes on the side, I have to find two numbers that multiply to get 30 and add to get 13. So two numbers that multiply to get 30 and add to get 13. So that's going to be 3 and 10. And also remember, it doesn't matter if I put the 3 on top or the 10 on top, okay, because it's all going to work out the same. But now I have to fill in the other four boxes. Remember, I have to pick any four numbers that when these two multiply up to get 6, these two multiply up to get 5, this row multiplies across to get 3, and this row multiplies across to get 10. Okay, so like I said, I usually start with prime numbers. I know this is 3 is going to either be 1 times 3 or 3 times 1. Well, the 3 might help me get a 6, but a 3 can't help me get a 5, so I put the 3 under the 6. So 3 times 1 is 3. And then that helps me fill in the other, because I know if this is a 1, then this must be 5. 5 times 1 is 5. And if this is a 3, then this must be a 2, because 3 times 2 is 6. And then I can see that that is right, because 2 times 5 also equals 10. So I have my four numbers that I've filled in. Now remember, I cross circle them, and this is my x column, and this is my constant column, or my coefficients and my constants. So this means I have 3x plus 5, because I have a 3 circled with a 5, and I have a 2x plus 1, because I have a 2 circled with a 1. So two factors of 6x squared plus 13x plus 5 are 3x plus 5 and 2x plus 1. Okay, now the other method, I'm going to rewrite the problem over here, okay, is to rewrite the trinomial except moving the a value over with the c and multiplying it together. So I'm going to rewrite the trinomial as x squared plus 13x plus 30, because I took the 6 and I multiplied times 5 to get 30. Now I'm going to factor this like a trinomial that has a value of 1. So I need two numbers that multiply to get 30 and add to get 13. Well, that's 3 and 10. So x plus 3 times x plus 10 would be this trinomial. Okay? In order to make it the factors of this trinomial, I come back up here, get my original a, and I'm going to put it underneath both constants. So 3 over 6 and 10 over 6. Now the first thing I have to do is simplify my fractions. So I have 3 over 6, so that's going to give me x plus 1 over 2. And I have 10 over 6, so that's going to give me x plus 5 over 3. Notice I kept it as a improper fraction, did not write it as a mixed number. Okay, so I have x plus 1/2 times x plus 5/3, but remember we can't leave our factors as fractions, so we have to convert them to whole numbers, which is getting rid of the denominator, which means multiplying by the denominator, which in essence just moves it out front. So 2x plus 1 times 3x plus 5. Okay, remember the shortcut is you take the denominator, you put it in front of the x. That's why the 2 went from underneath the 1 to out in front. That's why the 3 went from under the 5 to out in front. and these are the factors of our original trinomial. Notice they're the same factors we got when we did tic-tac-toe method. Alright, now we're going to look at one more, and we'll see each method here as well. Okay, now the first thing I notice here, which should be the first thing I look for every single time, should be common factors. Is there anything that all three of these terms have in common? Well, this time there actually is. There's a 2 they have in common. So if I factor out the 2, that leaves me with a 2x squared plus 9x plus 9. So this is the same thing as the original trinomial, because if I distributed the 2, I'd get back to where I was. So now I can just kind of ignore the 2 and factor the trinomial inside the parentheses. So I'm going to write that down. So 2x squared plus 9x plus 9. Okay, so I'm going to multiply that 2 times the 9 using that other method. So 2 times 9 is 18, so I rewrote this trinomial, and I can factor it. That gives me x plus 6 times x plus 3. But then I have to take the a value and put it underneath both of those. So 6 over 2 and 3 over 2. 6 over 2 simplifies to 3. 3 over 2 doesn't simplify, so I move the 2 out in front, and I get 2x plus 3. But then this is just this trinomial. I still have this multiplied by 2, so I still have a factor of 2 out front. And if I was to multiply all of this back together, I would get my original trinomial. Now, I could also do this with tic-tac-toe. I could still factor out the 2, and I could look at tic-tac-toe from here. Okay, now remember, with this method, if you didn't factor out the 2, you would have lost it. So you have to factor out common factors if you're going to use this method. Okay, tic-tac-toe, you can or you cannot. We'll see both options here. So if I factor out the 2, and then that gives me this trinomial, I'm going to use this trinomial to do tic-tac-toe. Okay, so the a is 2, c is 9, so a times c is 18. Also know that my b is 9, so they have to add to be 9 and multiply to get 18. Well, that's going to be 6 and 3. So then again, I'm going to start with a prime number. I know 3 times 1 has to be 3. So the 3 would help me with the 9, but not the 2, so that's why I put the 3 in the 9's column. So then I can tell that that must be 3 times 3 to get 9, and 1 times 2 to get 2, and then I can see that that must be correct because 2 times 3 is also 6. So it multiplies across, it multiplies up. So then when I have my matches here, I see that I have 2x plus 3 and x plus 3. Okay, so that gives me my 2 factors from this trinomial. But then again, I still have that common factor that I pulled out before, so it's still in front. And notice I have the same factors. Okay, now, what if I want to do tic-tac-toe and I don't want to worry about pulling a common factor out? Okay, so I'm going to go straight from the original trinomial. Okay, so in this case, a would be 4, c would be 18, and a times c is 72. It has to add to be 18 and multiply to get 72. Well, that's 12 and 6. If you couldn't think of that off the top of your head, you need to start writing out factors of 72 and see which ones add to give you 18. You will find that 6 and 12 work. So, now I need to fill it in. I'm going to start with my 6 because I know 2 times 3 is 6. But since 3 isn't going to help me with the 4, I'm going to put in the 18 column, and I'm going to put the 2 in the 4 column. So then I can see that this must be 6 because 3 times 6 is 18. And this must be 2 because 2 times 2 is 4. and then I can see that 2 times 6 is also 12, so I know that that works. So that gives me these two factors. So my factors are 2x plus 6 and 2x plus 3. Okay? So these are the two factors of this trinomial. But you might notice, oh wait, they don't look the same. Well, that's because although these are factors, this one is not completely factored. See, this binomial still has something in common. What do 2x and 6 have in common? Well, they both have a 2 in common. So I need to factor out that 2. And if I take the 2 out of 2x plus 6, what am I left with? That leaves me with an x plus 3. And 2 times x plus 3 is the same thing as 2x plus 6. So that needs to get multiplied by 2x plus 3. So I have the same sets of factors no matter which of the methods I use.